It's Tuesday, and that means it's time for the bullpen. Welcome to the bullpen, which is where I share all of the lessons, all of the mistakes, all of the successes, everything I've learned when it comes to sales and selling. So this is probably my favorite show to do. And today I'm going to be walking you through your number one secret weapon when it comes to closing more sales. The number one secret weapon. This thing will lower your customer acquisition cost. This thing will recruit better people to your team. This thing will have customers purchase faster than they would otherwise. This is the number one secret weapon you have in your arsenal, and I'm going to be breaking it down over the next 20, 30 minutes. And this is something that I've learned the hard way. When I started my first business in school, we were doing painting, exterior painting jobs, lots of door knocking. That was a great lesson in terms of what it takes to generate a lead. Then I moved into selling houses as a real estate agent, broker. Then I transitioned over to multifamily investing. And, obviously we've now scaled our massive conference. We have a consulting offer. We actually teach people how to do multifamily investing as well. So we've got a bunch of stuff on the go. But yeah, like this is your number one secret weapon that you have, because before I had it, I would always feel like I was chasing people. They would never pick up my call. So I would have to hammer them, call 7, 10, 15 times. Nobody wanted to talk to you. I felt like I was invisible. I had an opinion. I knew what I was doing, but I was what I called an invisible expert. I was like Casper the Friendly Ghost. Nobody saw me unless they really wanted to. And that wasn't a great way to do business. But once I developed my secret weapon, then I started having traction. I was able to, connect with some top thought leaders in the space, like massive brands in their own right, and that was able to lever me up. I was able to do partnerships and make connections I never would have thought imaginable. And if you haven't been able to figure out what your secret weapon is yet, it's your brand. It's your personal brand. And the more I'm in business, the more I've been around, the more I realize your brand is almost everything. Let me put it this way. So now I've been able to build a brand. I run this big conference, and people will approach me at the conference wanting to do business on the spot. Before I had that, you'd have to chase customers. You were just one of a million. Good example, real estate agents. There's 1,000,001 real estate agents out there. 95% of them don't make any money at all. So, if you're the consumer trying to find a real estate agent, there's plenty of fish in the sea. Right? You're a dime a dozen. How do you separate yourself from the pack? Well, you build a brand. Now, that brand is you are the top person in that market. You are the go-to expert in that market. You get the best results in that market, and that brand follows you around. Now, all of a sudden, instead of being one of a million, you're one of one, right? And now you're something special. You're in that blue ocean. Because if you haven't read the book, so let's say this is the ocean right here, all right? There's two different types of oceans that you have. So first ocean right here, you've got a bunch of sharks, right? This is a horrible shark, right? All right, so you've got a shark here, and this is your competitor. You've got a shark here. This is your other competitor. And what happens when you have an ocean full of sharks, right? Everybody's competing for the same thing. Everybody talks the same. Everybody looks the same. So continuing on that real estate agent example, all the real estate agents, they send out flyers to houses. All the real estate agents, you see them on the bus. All the real estate agents, you see their face on the sign. All real estate agents run open houses. Like, you're the same. You're selling the same product. You're selling the same service. You're charging probably the same amount, right? It's all the same. So what happens when you have too many sharks in the same ocean? Well, they start eating each other. And then that ocean turns red with blood. Now you're swimming in blood. So what is your goal as a business? Your goal is to create a blue ocean. This is where you have a tropical island. You've got the palm trees right here. You've got the sun tanning chair. You got the girls in the bikinis or the guys wearing Speedos, whatever floats your boat, right? But you've got, like, that's your blue ocean. You want to be the only happy fish in the ocean. Oh, that's a really bad fish. But that's where you want to be. Now, how do you do that? It's all through brand, right? It's all through brand. And brand is really the people's perception of you if they don't even know you. That's your brand. So, a good example, the car manufacturer Jaguar is in the news over the past couple days because they have had a brand, very British brand, and they ran into sales issues for the past, I'd say, decade, right? It hasn't been great for them. And a couple days ago, they came out with this, I don't even know what to call it, but it's a totally off the wall, just ridiculous brand campaign because they're trying to reinvent their brand. So they're trying to attach different feelings, different values people feel and perceive when they see or they hear the name Jaguar or Jaguar if you're North American, right? That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to change how people feel about them, even though they've never interacted with the brand before. So when I started out and I launched my conference, I needed to build a brand because I was an invisible expert. I knew about real estate. I knew my stuff. I got good results for my clients, right? I was investing in real estate. I was doing okay, but I didn't have a brand. And that's what kept me hidden and invisible. I was in that red ocean. I was just like everybody else. So I was like, okay, how do I actually leverage brand to create a name for myself so when people see my face or they hear my name or they talk about me, they automatically have this type of feeling or perception about me, right? Because that's all brand is. And this is why, if you have a strong brand, you will attract your ideal customer and they will want to do business with you, even though you're just talking for the first time. That's how powerful brand is. If you're selling, brand is everything. Brand warms up your audience before they even get to you face to face, right? Because everybody knows cold traffic is the hardest sale to make. You're taking somebody who's never heard about you before, you get a conversation with them, and now you have to make a sale. That's really cold, and that's really hard to do. But if you have that strong brand, well, the brand does most of the selling for you now. And then, on the sales conversation, it's like a warm lead. It's a hot sale. It's not cold anymore because of your brand. So when I started out, I launched this conference. So I needed to move from the red ocean to the blue ocean. So what did I do? Number one, I had, this is going to get super messy. So let me break this down. The first thing I did was I had a big idea. So most of the players in the space, in the real estate investment, capital raising, in the real estate space, everybody thinks small, okay? So I had this big idea. Everybody else had a small idea. So most people, they run these, like meetup groups, or they run these networking events, or they run these workshops, and maybe they get 25 people, maybe they get 50 people, maybe they get 100 people on a good day, maybe 200 people. That's what most people do. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But I wanted to separate myself and build a brand in the blue ocean, because on any given weekend or any given week, there are 101 events like this in the real estate space. 101. It's just like the real estate agent example I used. They're everywhere. So how do you differentiate yourself? Well, you can if you're just like everybody else. So I decided to come at it with a big idea. I was going to build and launch Canada's largest real estate investing conference. That was my goal. Okay, big idea. I automatically shifted my thinking and my brand from small to big, because I wanted people, when they saw my event, oh, this is huge, right? I wanted to have that feeling right off the bat. Oh, this is exciting. Oh, this isn't like anything else I've seen before, right? I want to get excited. I want to participate. That's the way I was going. So I had this big idea. Then I needed to borrow authority because at that point, I was that hidden invisible expert. People didn't know who I was. Well, like my clients did that small group, but overall, the market, I was nothing in the marketplace. Absolutely nothing. So I needed to build a brand. Now, I could have done that over a long period of time, but I wanted to take a shortcut. And that shortcut was borrowing somebody else's brand. So this is what I did. So I launched the conference. I created the platform. Then I had to borrow authority. So whose authority did I borrow? Well, the story goes, and true story, I was watching Shark Tank with my girlfriend, now fiance, Darcy, and Kevin O'Leary was just grinding a guy on the valuation of his business. I turned to Darcy and I'm like, I'm going to get Kevin O'Leary to speak at a conference. And that was the start of it. So what I did was I brought in Kevin O'Leary. So we'll just call him Mr. Wonderful or Chef Wonderful, however you want to call it, Mr. Wonderful. So now I had Mr. Wonderful on board. I sold the big idea. This is what we're doing. It's going to be huge, right? I got Mr. Wonderful on board. So now me as the person running it, I'm now on the same level. I'm being equated with Mr. Wonderful, right? It's the same stage, same event. People see Kevin O'Leary's face. They see my face. It's elevating my brand. I've borrowed his authority, okay? So at this point, I built a platform. Then I borrowed authority from Mr. Wonderful. All right, that's step number 2. Now what I needed to do is create an audience. So what did I do? I had this platform. I had this big idea. I had Mr. Wonderful on board. Amazing. Now I had to build an audience. Now, I was starting from scratch. I didn't have this massive email list. Now we work with events, with like some of them have 2, 3, 500,000 person email lists. They're massive, but when I started, I didn't have that. I was a nobody. So I needed to build an audience. How did I do that? Well, I leveraged the big idea and the brand I was starting to build. Because most people, all my competitors, they were thinking small. I was thinking really, really big. So I had to sell my big idea to the marketplace. And how do I do that? Well, I ran paid ads. I did a whole bunch of podcasts. I did all of that type of stuff. I had to get my message out into the marketplace. Once I did that, I had all these people show up to the event. It was amazing. And now we made an offer at the event. So we had products for sale, and then we had content, and then that content goes back in to build the next platform or to level up the platform. And then that's what we did the next year. We went from 1,000 to 2,500, and then we leveled up, right? So it's like a flywheel that keeps going around and around and around, because the more content you have, the bigger you can grow your platform. You can borrow more authority from bigger people, and then you just create a new audience and you keep going and going and going. That's how this thing works. So how does this tie back to sales? Well, let me name a couple people. So Ty Lopez is making another push, right? Everybody knows him from In My Garage, that ad that broke the internet. He had all his cars in the background. He had his bookcases, and it was like the knowledge, right? That was Ty's ad, the knowledge, and a lot went into that. Great ad, right? He made a lot of money from it. So he built his brand. He built a platform. He built he leveraged authority from other people. He built an audience. He made an offer to the audience. He created content, and then that went back into the platform. That's exactly what Ty Lopez did. So, and now he's the authority that other people leverage. Like if you watch him, he's got ads on being like, hey, leverage my authority for your podcast. So now he's the big authority figure that people can borrow. But at the beginning, it wasn't like that. So now that he's built his brand up, people see what he does. They have a feeling about him. They have a perception about him that's already done the pre-selling before they even hop on a call with him or his team. That's the secret to increasing your sales. Because if you don't have a brand, that person is showing up to that call, that appointment, that meeting, completely cold, totally cold. And now you have to take somebody from zero, frozen solid, and bring them up to a hot temperature before they buy. But if your brand takes somebody and warms them up. They pre-sell them before that appointment. Maybe that person's already half of the way, 50% of the way there. So now that makes your sale process a whole lot easier. They already know what you stand for. They know the feel of your brand, your business. They know how you work, that they know what you represent. That's all brand is. It's the feeling people get when they perceive it. So now when I see the new Jaguar ads or Jaguar ads online, and it's totally the opposite of what I feel when I used to drive my Jag, I cringe and I'm like, ugh, that's gross. Right? But they don't want me as a customer anymore. They're going after a totally different demographic. They're totally rechanging their brand. They even said that they think that 90% of their customers will not even follow them with the new brand. They've totally changed it, right? So I'm not the person they're targeting anymore. Their brand is now repelling me, and purposely so. They're trying to attract and elicit feelings and emotions and perceptions from a totally different group of people now, right? Hopefully it works. Maybe it won't. Who knows, right? We'll have to see what happens. But yeah, so like brand is that powerful, because when people perceive your brand, they're already halfway sold, and that's why it's your number one secret weapon in sales. So right now, with the way my brand is, we've grown our conference. I'm perceived, so we do consulting with other events. So we'll help events scale. We just had an event do a couple million in back-end sales. We had another, we have a lot of good case studies of events we've helped. That's my brand in that space. I'm known as the guy who scales $1 million conferences. That's what I'm known as. Great. And we do a lot of good work for our clients. So now when we have people come through our funnel and book a call, a lot of them already know about what we do. They have that perception of me as a brand. They know what I stand for, because they've seen what I do. They've consumed our content. They're on our newsletter. There's so many different things that go into this. They see the messaging. They see who I associate with. Who am I on stage with? They're like, oh, well, Seth's been on stage with Alex Rodriguez. Seth's been on stage with Cameron Larry, Robert Herjavec. Like all these people go into it, and that elevates my brand up. So now my status is increased, and now I can command a higher price because my brand is higher. It's just like, you look at a Bentley versus a Toyota. Well, the Bentley is going to command a higher price. Why? It still gets you from A to B, but their brand, the perception, the feeling people get is very, very different. Now, obviously, the leather in a Bentley is top notch, right? But at the end of the day, it still has 4 wheels and it gets you from A to B. But it's the feeling, it's how people perceive it, and that's why they pay so much money, right? Will people pay more money for Jaguars now? Maybe, maybe not. I definitely won't be one of those people, but you never know. You never know. All right. So that is the number one secret weapon that you have when it comes to building your brand. It's your personal brand. You have to build this up. So if you're interested in doing more in building your brand, we just launched, like brand spanking new, starting from scratch. We just launched a brand new community called Powerhouse Mastermind. This is where I'm going to be sharing everything I know about building my first event, so you can launch your first event, launching my podcast, what I did with cable TV, all of that branding type of stuff, I'm going to be sharing in this community. So go to sethferguson.org/mastermind. Check it out. You get 2 weeks free. We're starting from scratch. You'll be able to follow our journey as we build this thing up to thousands of people. It's going to be so much fun. All right, so sethferguson.org/mastermind. Check it out, completely free for 2 weeks. And hopefully you join me over there, and we'll build your brand up. We'll get your first event launch. We'll get your podcast going. We'll get your marketing turnaround. It'll be a lot of fun. All right. So this was it for the bullpen this week. And join me next Tuesday. But if not, I will see you on Thursday for event domination. See you then.